Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I'm very happy because today I have a new guest, Raphael Buisson. Hey, Raphael.
Hey, Jeff.
And I didn't warn you I would bring you in right away, but I don't like the beginning to sound like a monologue, so I said hey to Raphael. I met Raphael at Film Invasion Los Angeles in 2023 because you directed and produced the film Tax Time. And let's be honest, it was one of my favorites. Freaking love. I promise you I'd curse. I fucking love Tax Time.
Yeah, thanks.
And it was an honor to have it at the festival. And the writer and producer, your co-producer, Hayden Croft, is a Discover Indie Film podcast champion. I think he's been on 4 times because he's made that many films.
4 times at your festival?
Yeah. 3 films, and then he came on this podcast to talk about his book. So he's been on 4 times, so clearly you had to come in.
Which book?
The novel?
Yeah, the
Actually,
novel?
I read the novel, and I read the collection of short
No Way
stories.
Yeah,
Kissing Strangers in the Dark, or whatever.
He did also this one.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of novels. It's like several.
Yes. So anyway, so now it's your turn. By the way, you want to get a little closer to the mic.
Yeah.
But, so this podcast, by the way, normally I ask you where people can catch Tax Time and anything else you've watched. Is it online yet?
I need to ask Aiden, actually, because I think we're going to post it online, but it's not online yet, so I need to confirm.
Not yet. So people,
because we wanted to wait for the entire festival run to get through before posting it, but it will be at some point.
It will be, and who knows, maybe on something I'm related to, but well, anyway, so people will just have to take my word for it that it's smart, original, funny, hilariously made, wonderfully made. So anyway.
Very simple, though.
Very yeah. It is. As director, you can definitely you have the right to just go. It's just a simple idea, but it's done so well. I think that's one of the charms of it for me is that it is exactly what it is, and just delivers exactly what I would ask, which is just funny, original, unique, has a tone you rarely get, you know. It really stands out from the crowd. And I guess that is the point of view of a film festival programmer who watches like 1,500 indie films a year get submitted between the 2 festivals. So I might be a little more into originality than the average viewer, right? Because, you know, when someone makes a film, I always make fun of this concept. But like every time I see a film submitted that's about that guy trying to pick up the phone and call the girl, I'm like, well, something amazing better happen because I've seen this film like 117 times. So you gotta, you know, an alien's got to pop out of his nose or something. Just do something I haven't seen before. But anyway, so I let you know, like this podcast, I'm just going to ask you, like, what got you into directing? I with my mangling, well, what I consider mangling of your last name, I know. You want to tell your personal history, where you're from, and how you got into film?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can guess a little bit by my accent, but I'm from France. Grew up in Paris. Spent also like some of my childhood, surprisingly, in Thailand as well, because of my parents. So kind of random, but.
Well, Thailand was French territory, right? Yeah, it was.
No, it was more the UK.
Oh, was it more UK?
But yeah,
okay.
No, the French weren't there.
Because I always heard French Indochina for a lot of that area.
Yeah. But not the part where we are. It was mostly like Vietnam, a little bit of Cambodia as well.
Yeah.
But always different kind of rolling, I guess, which was some sad times, I guess. And then we had the U.S. in Vietnam after.
Yeah, for some reason we picked up the baton.
Yeah, right after. Yeah, sad history. But yeah, so spent some time in Thailand, like I guess in total like maybe 2 or 3 years. And before moving to the U.S., I spent like 3 years in the UK, in London.
So was it you spent most of your time in Paris? That's where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Paris. Like, did all my, I guess, school there.
School and education
and
there.
Then went to study a little bit in the UK, in London, and then moved to Los Angeles.
Moved to Los Angeles. And Thailand was that like as a young, like a teen or?
Yeah, just when I was very young.
Oh, very young.
Even
okay.
before going to school, and then just during summers, I guess when my parents could go, they will take me, all the time.
Oh, cool. So then some London,
there.
and then for the U.S. straight to L.A. Was that for USC or?
Yeah, for USC, I was working a little bit in New York, but then because of the visa situation and just like life in general, I had to work in France and in the UK. So I came back a little bit and then went to study for the master program at USC in film production.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'm going to make you back up. Somewhere along that journey, you obviously got a serious interest in film. How old were you when you first caught interest in it?
Yeah, since I was, I guess,
as early as you can remember.
Yeah. Always fascinated by the.
Did you were you just glued to a VCR or DVD player as a kid?
VCR, yeah.
VCR. There you go.
VCR. No, I mean I didn't know what it was exactly. Obviously, like what directing, producing a movie was. I even thought like movies was a real thing inside a TV. For some reason I didn't know what was the making of it when I was very, very young, obviously. But I was always attracted to it. And I think at a very early age, I went to like a movie set when I was maybe like 5 or 6 for some reason. And I guess I knew this is something I wanted to try, or to do.
Yeah. Well, Paris is the cinema hub of France, yeah? It's where all the production... I avoided saying what most Angelinos would say, but now I'm saying it indirectly, which is it's like the LA of France, right? I mean, it's France's version of the film industry is based in Paris.
Yeah. I mean, most of the studios, all the decisions and stuff, if you're making like movies in France, obviously Paris is the place you want to be in. And it's been around for a long time.
For a long time. Goes back longer than cinema goes back here.
Yeah. But it wasn't an industry. That's how, I guess, on a business level, LA is more successful, is they obviously saw it more as a business entity. At first, it was...
It was an art form.
It was more like an art form, or just, I don't know, just like maybe a scientific discovery first and then an art form, but they didn't see it as much as a business model, and like an international thing to sell, movies.
Right. That's fascinating. I bet there's graduate papers written about.
Yeah, there must be, for sure. But also, that's the mentality in general, I guess. French people are not necessarily the best compared to Americans, let's say, for business.
As far as being a capitalist.
Yeah. Not necessarily, but just business in general.
Those are some very big businesses, but sure. So you absolutely loved film as a kid. You loved movies as a kid.
Yeah.
And then around how old did you get on this film set?
Yeah, I mean, I was like 5 or 6. I just, because of a friend of my parents, I guess. I don't have any relative working in film, but because like I was so fascinated by film, she got a way to just like look at a movie set for like an afternoon, like maybe an hour. And I remember we had to hide behind like like a pillar or something between takes, or like in a room. But yeah, it was a long time ago. But yeah, no, that was.
But you saw behind the wall, right? You saw
Mm-hmm.
everything that happens on the opposite. You saw just how much goes into what appears on screen.
Yeah, I think it was a woman being shot or something. So I actually, it's been a long time. I didn't thought about it, but it was quite an experience because it was still like an interesting scene, I guess, like with a gun and all that.
I would
it's
assume
like,
for a child, yeah.
You don't want necessarily to see just two people talking in a room. It was quite interesting to see. But yeah. But again, I didn't know exactly what it was, obviously. I was also interested in music, architecture, and I guess as you get older, you kind of did dive more into something specific. But yeah. My parents, though, they weren't necessarily also very for it, you know, because I guess it's also, obviously it's a tough job. It's hard to make a living. It takes time. It's a lot of up and down, I guess. And it's very unpredictable, and there's only a few being selected, so yeah.
Yeah, it's clearly one of the hardest career paths for parents to both support. But what parent doesn't say have a backup plan, right? Mm-hmm. Every parent has to think to themselves. I remember I had a nephew decide he wanted to be an actor when his parents said, well, you might end up a waiter who goes on auditions all the time. And he said, well, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
So, fair enough.
No, you have to be stubborn, I guess, a little bit.
You do. But were you also, were you creative in other venues? Were you the kind of kid who wrote stories and things, or was it really
always also like,
always.
I guess the main thing was storytelling first, and also like for some reason I always come back to like architecture and atmosphere, which are connected in a way. It's also the stories, but it's how you set up a mood for that story, and how you frame environment. Obviously, like nature. Also, I was always fascinated by going, you know, hiking or camping or stuff like that. But also how you get like overwhelmed by cities or just landscape in general. And in film, it's a great way to get those feelings, you know, by watching sci-fi, but all kind of genre when you think about it, you know.
Oh yeah. Cinema opens up the idea of world building, and yeah, when you talk about architecture, I always think of a screenplay as a blueprint. Mm-hmm. You know, in a way, the film is the finished home or building, but yeah, the screenplay really is the blueprint of that completed building.
Yeah, and it changes a lot though compared to architecture.
Yeah,
it's like very different steps, and yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't have a good enough foundation, if you don't have a good enough design, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you get on the set and you're like, oh, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of prep, but again, it depends. You have so many methods to make a film, and when you look at the best films, you have so many ways of doing it. So it's hard to say one thing that is true. I guess it's very mysterious, and the more I guess you try to understand it, like for instance, editing, the way editing works, a cut, you know, it's very. There's no real rule. It's like very. And it keeps changing because it seems like the audience keep adapting to new ways of, you know, like I guess understand editing. Like right now, it's very, very fast when you think about it. Like something I remember is like my granddad, who passed away like a year or two ago. But I remember like anytime he was watching like new movies, he was like, "Yeah, this is going too fast. I don't understand the story and stuff." But new audience are trained, I guess, to understand the new cuts that we do. Let's say even for TikTok or like social media, it's so fast now. But before, it used to be way slower.
Editing and filmmaking styles over the years, it's always evolving, and it is always interesting to go back and watch something. You know, that's
the pacing was
you know. Now I'm old enough, I can watch a film that I thought was fantastic 30 years ago. And yeah, sometimes it holds up, and sometimes you appreciate it for exactly what it is, and sometimes you think, yeah, this is dated. This is they're taking forever to introduce plot lines, and the pacing is just killing me. Yeah, besides the editing.
Yeah, many factors. So yeah, it's always mysterious the way things evolve, and a bad film become a good one, or the opposite, you know.
The films that were panned, and then people turn around and go, actually, it is very funny. I always thought it'd be smart to have a alternate Oscars where you do like you take all the films from 10 years ago,
like,
and you vote for what was the best film.
Deserves a comeback. That would be a great also festival actually to the revival.
It would be a fun revival thing, especially because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of logistics and studios to deal with, but yeah, it would be interesting. All right, so you were. When did you first get to work with cameras? Because you were always storytelling. You said you were always into storytelling.
Yes, writing also, like, obviously, like, I got, I think, when I was, like, 12, like, a little photograph camera, to take pictures. But I wasn't, like, the kid, like, making short film at a very early age. I started, like, pretty late, I guess. I mean, at, like, maybe 16, 18. So I guess it's kind of late compared to some others,
Some, but it doesn't really matter because, as you said, it's storytelling.
Mm-hmm. It is,
so if you're working on storytelling in other mediums, you're still developing the skills.
Yeah. But so I always was more leaning toward producing again and directing, and then recently it's been a few years by studying. I guess I got more into like cinematography because I was always kind of scared of the technical aspect of it, and when you see all the, I guess the ACs, the grip, all the kind of lenses, but you can get, you can get overwhelmed again by it. But I got more into it through school because it's, I guess, the space that gives you the resources and it allows you to make mistakes with no real, I guess, consequences,
For sure, yeah. I mean,
and
that's
you need
definitely
resources also essentially to do it. So I'm very thankful to have been able to.
So you found the whole, but did you but as a teenager you started playing around with cameras. So,
yeah.
So that's when you were you intimidated? You said you were intimidated by it, or did that come later as you saw like the results?
Or just like you don't really have access to it anyway, because you're.
I mean when you deal with an actual cinematographer and they start talking lenses, it's impossible to keep up with them, right? I mean,
I don't think it's more sometimes. I mean, it sounds more complicated than it is, People hide themselves like cinematographers or technical guys behind their job, but I think like in one afternoon,
right,
some random person can really grasp like the essential, and in a week you can train anyone. After it only comes to just the gaze and how you work a vision on the story, but the technical aspect, it's only anybody can get it, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right. It's
it
just
sounds
easy when they throw the
know?
jargon at you to back off and go, okay. But yeah, you're right. They're probably throwing the jargon at us so that we don't tell them what to do.
I mean, there's some crazy stuff. The way a camera works, it's still like very complicated. But the basics of the basics, it's not that crazy.
For sure. So as a teenager, did you make some home films?
Yeah, home films or little stories, with friends or stuff like that.
And like a little bit of editing too, or editing in camera?
Editing, yeah.
Yeah, because it was neat because by then there were home computers.
Yeah, computers.
That had, what was it, Movie Maker on Windows or iMovie on
Magic,
Apple.
I think.
Movie Magic. But yeah, there was...
Yeah, so it was starting, I guess, to really be accessible to anyone, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was revolutionary that...
Yeah, and even phones, I guess, you could... And little cameras that were cheap, and you could make movies for nothing and anywhere. But nothing too technical. And I guess I was,
But you decided to use a camera to tell a story, and
yeah, exactly. And writing also, especially.
Writing.
Just writing ideas that I will always dream of doing later,
and then for college, for university, you stayed in Paris?
Yeah, I was in Paris, but I was more, I guess, busy being a troublemaker than anything else,
That's a good thing to be. That's a good thing to be in your late teens.
Yeah.
So you had fun. You've had fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're just busy with school, and school is obviously not very cinema oriented. They don't really. I mean, where I was, they don't really consider it as a job or as a future. So you just like, I guess, do whatever they tell you to do. Like mathematics, and which can be interesting. But you don't really have the space to
Right.
do that,
So
I
so
guess.
your undergraduate was more like liberal arts degree, just general education, not really focused on film.
Yeah, not really.
Do they have the nonsense we have with where you have to choose a major and all that?
Yeah, but you have like three options, which is more like, I mean, you have one that is literature, which I didn't take, and then you have like economical science, and I took this one, or you have like pure science, which I didn't get. So I was more into which I don't regret. It was
Right.
very.
So economical science is kind of like econ here, like just learning
It teaches you
how the world works,
how
really.
how society works on a social level, but also economical level.
Yeah, which is important.
Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the teacher you have and all that. But
Well, and I always say, like, making a film is like starting a small business.
it is, yeah.
And like, if you have business, you can tell who has business savvy and who doesn't just by the organization of that little company built around a film. The bummer is if it's a wonderful company that makes a great film, people tend to just go their separate ways. It's hard to hold it together to make another one, right?
It is, yeah. You need a strong business model. And even, like, I think film school, they don't really teach you that.
Nah.
They really focus on the craft, I guess, which is a big error because, I mean, it's very important. That's the foundation of everything, but you don't make any movies obviously, without the business aspect. So,
Yeah, it's almost like they expect you to figure out the business stuff for yourself. If they teach you the craft, you'll figure out how to manage the small company that it takes to make a film. But the truth is, they should probably talk about that too.
Yeah.
I should start my own film school and just make it more about you're starting a business.
I mean, that would be.
You're starting a company. It's not just an LLC with the film's name in it. There's more to it than that.
There's a balance, I'm sure.
Everything in life is a balance. All right, so you graduate and
Yeah, so
Is
now I'm
there
out of
any-
school. So like it's been like a year and a half now.
were you still thinking about film as your future at times, or were you not thinking about it for a while?
What do you mean, like
Oh,
right now?
like were you thinking after I get my first degree, were you thinking film school all along after that?
Yeah, and I was always thinking about it, but not too seriously. And I guess when it was about to be over, I was like, what the fuck do you want to do with your life, you know? And then I was, I'm pretty sure. I thought about it since I was born, so...
So coming up to
That's the
graduation,
only
you're like,
thing that
what the
will-
fuck do I do? When,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have the same thing a lot of us have, which is, damn, when I finish school, I got to support myself.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
No, and I'm very grateful because also like sometimes you don't have because I think also to make film you need backup, and to study also, especially in the US, you need backup, and I'm very thankful for my family who supported me on that. I'm gonna have to reimburse the third year, but they're gonna give me some time to get on my feet, But I think in film it's very hard to make it from scratch in general, because also sometimes you need also obviously network and money support, because especially to start it takes a few years to take off, and sometimes it doesn't even take off. So it's a big bet you have to do. But I'm very thankful in that regard that, when I made my choice, they were like, okay, we're gonna support you so you can follow what you really care about,
Yeah.
So yeah. And I don't think I have any regrets. I mean, it's okay. I'm doing okay, I guess. Right.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
I make
Well,
great
what was it
people.
like to, let me back up and what was it like you arrived in Los Angeles because you were accepted to USC, right? Like you came out for that?
Yeah.
What was it? So was there like culture shock as well as
No, it is.
the shock?
Yeah, it's I mean, especially LA, but also it's what I like. It's to get dropped in some. I mean, I guess for me it's exotic, in the sense, but it's super far away from where I'm from. I didn't know anyone, or I didn't know the city, and it's kind of an impressive city, especially the first time when you arrive. It's like huge, It's nothing to do with Paris.
It's huge and sprawling and makes very little sense. Like one of the things I love about being in Europe and being like, I'm a big fan of Paris, and like I've been fortunate enough to like, you know, get an apartment there for like a few weeks at a time now and then. And I just feel like the whole city was like planned out until a lot of the city was like there's city planning there.
Yeah, it's logical. I mean, also you can
then there's public spaces and there's all kinds of things that I'm like, this is so. Of course. In fact, I make fun of the Italians because like I don't know, I'm just kissing up to a French person, but like when I'm in Italy and we're at the Pantheon and I'll say to my wife, see how there's a McDonald's like if this were in Paris, there would be a park around the Pantheon. They wouldn't have built restaurants around the piazza that surrounds the Pantheon. Like there would be grass, there'd be trees. Like we would really be able to walk around this ancient building and appreciate it. The French would make us appreciate it. The Italians just build around it. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, it went kind of it's like a maze, but it's also amazing.
I love Rome. I love Rome too.
Obviously, but yeah, it's a beautiful mess.
Yeah. Whereas LA is just such a mess. LA has no.
But it's a grid.
It is a grid. But it's again, just there's not a coherent plan here, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, so you kind of dwarf, but like any city, you know, but especially LA, you know, has big potential to dwarf you, you know, once you get here.
Sure.
Just to understand the city, like nobody gets it. Even people who are living here, the way like LA, what is LA, and all the county and all that, you know, it's and it's all spread out, obviously. But yeah, kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy, but it sounds like you appreciated it when you got here. You just enjoyed it as an experience.
Yeah, and for me, like some people say, and I would have to say like Europeans, you know, like LA has no history because it's very new and all that. But if you're in film or in music, for me, it's like a museum, you know, anywhere you go. And it's not necessarily the most interesting place, but you're like, oh my God, that parking, they show that movie, or like that hill, this is where they did that, this or that. So I think it's a historical city.
Yeah, if you're a cinephile, LA does have a lot of impressive little secrets that are out. They're not that secretive, but yeah, you notice it all the time.
Yeah, and for nature, it's still great. I mean, you have so many perks, you know. But, yeah.
It is a beautiful place. Not everywhere.
But it can be a bad place as well. It's a double standard, double sword city.
Agreed.
Very hard to manage if you have no cars here.
Oh, yeah, stuff like that. I remember, though, when I knew someone who moved here for film school, and he didn't. And he was amazed at all the streets and boulevards that were major TV characters. Like, he's like, oh, there's a street called Bundy, and I liked Al Bundy on Married with Children. There's a street called Chandler. That's Chandler from Friends. Like, you look around, you're like, oh, the TV writers were just sitting around going, I can't think what to name this character. Well, I drove on Bundy yesterday, so I'll name the character that.
Yeah. But that's what make it interesting and wonderful, I guess. Yeah, that's funny.
It is.
It can be silly sometimes.
It is. All right, so the graduate program at USC is obviously like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the way it works, it's almost like a mini studio. That's almost how they label themselves, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. But I think like USC can be good for obviously the gear you have access to, like the facilities, you know, they have some great stages where you can try a lot of stuff, which is amazing. And just for like, I guess, network, because they really push collaboration, which is like, I guess, the key. Because a lot of time, you know, when you want to be a filmmaker, you can be in your bubble, you want to tell your stories and stuff, but the key as well is to share the vision, know how to share it, but also know how to collaborate with all kind of people and very different people that you don't necessarily get along to, but when it comes to make a film, you find some terms and you you try to make it work, you know. And that's the beauty of it as well, you know. It's the collaboration aspect. It's not like you're a painter and you're by yourself in a room, which can be great, but film, it's you need to I guess, like people a little at least to make something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you are a misanthrope and you just despise other people, film is not for you, because it has to be collaborative. I mean,
Yeah.
even a film like you said, like as clear cut and you know, small in scale as Tax Time, still took a group of people working together to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's always
one person can't do it all.
Yeah, to make sure, and maybe it wasn't the case that much anymore. I guess on movie set people used to be way harsher, but now there's more spirit of including people more and respecting people, you know? I mean, obviously you have like always BTS of like famous directors like being awful to actors, crew members, and I guess one of the good thing right now is like people are trying to teach. I'm not saying it's necessarily better, but there's a will to make it more respectful for everyone.
I'm willing to say it's better. Yeah, mm-hmm. I doubt the quality of cinema will go down when you remove abuse from the equation.
Yeah. Because some people tend to romanticize it. I mean, obviously you have some maybe funny stories, you know, but it's not necessarily funny when you think about it. I mean, I don't know. I was like watching The Exorcist, and I think Friedkin like fire a gun at some point, like, which is insane when you think about it. Like, let's say you do that today, you know, you fire a gun in the air because you're upset. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's a wild one.
Yeah,
and Lord knows, yeah, there was a toxicity, and one might even call it a toxic masculinity that was rooted in Hollywood, where
for sure, yeah.
Where people just, my mentors abuse the shit out of me, and so I got to abuse the shit out of the people working for me, but it's going to make everyone's better and stronger. And maybe it doesn't make you better and stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, maybe you can just fire somebody without telling them that they're the worst person who ever lived, and that they should go to their parents and apologize for everything they've done.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then you just say, actually, you just did a really bad job today, so we're going to replace you.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You don't have to.
Yeah, because I totally understand.
Miserable.
I used to be a James Cameron apologist because I was like, he's good to the people who come back and work with him over and over and over and over. But yeah, maybe he's a little harsh when someone does when someone displeases him, who doesn't do the level of work he's asking for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe he should chill the fuck out and just replace them without having a fit. But
the problem again is to get to that level, I guess, to that stage. I guess it pushes people to be harsh. So it's very hard to. I mean, obviously, he should be, I guess, blamed for how he behaves. Because I've heard, also from people I know, like, who worked with him, like, bad stories, but. And I'm not necessarily like forgiving him, I guess. I mean, what I might say, but puts you in so much pressure but the way it's built, and
yeah, I mean, when I call myself an apologist,
that's why film is crazy. It's a crazy environment. It's always rushed, and it's always a race for everything, and a lot of egos, and
when you have. When you are the producer and director, and some corporation has given you, I don't know,
$1 billion,
$500 million to make 2 or 3 films, or one, whatever.
It was $1 billion for those 3 films.
Yeah, like that's a bit of pressure. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's like
not taking it too well at times. Like if somebody does something and you lose a whole day of work because someone just, zapped a hard drive or something.
Yeah,
you're probably gonna yell.
Yeah,
but
it's tough,
I still. But I think that the next generation is going to come out differently, and I would think better.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Let's hope so. We'll see.
There's always going to be creative geniuses. There's always going to be people who do wonderful work, and they don't have to,
Yeah, they don't have to treat each other like awful ones.
I don't know. This is a very small example, but Joss Whedon, I guess, was awful to people, and he made some Marvel movies. And those Russo brothers come in, and I guess they're nice to everybody, and they made amazing movies. So you don't have to be a jerk to make a good movie.
No, for sure.
But so we got on this topic because you talked about collaborating at USC. So it was just a positive experience. Like, you just hit the ground running, and your people are working as crew for you. You're working as crew for people. You're in writers groups. You're just all that.
Yeah, you try all kind of things. You learn. You make mistakes, and you meet people you might work with for the next couple of years, or sometimes,
And do you have to choose an emphasis, like between directing or cinematography? Or
after you kind of choose, it's like in 3 years, so after you kind of choose classes that, either you get picked or you choose, so you have to, I guess, find something specific, which is good, because after, have so many jobs available, but you have the chance to find more what you want to do, because for instance at AFI I know that it's only one program, like only directing or only production design or whatever. USC is more open, which I think for me depends for some people, but for me was a good fit to kind of try a lot of things and find new roads,
Yeah, and be a bit of more of a generalist and jack of all trades, and see what you excel at. So what did you end up with a photo?
Some more like cinematography as well, and which helped because I shoot stuff now, but I still work as a director. But obviously, knowing more about cinematography is a great things, which you don't necessarily need as a director. It depends on what kind of stuff you want to direct. So but to me it was very valuable to learn all those
and if
things.
you can get work in camera departments or in cinematography,
and that's a way also to get
those
your
gigs
life
are going
more-
to come more frequently than directing gigs.
Directing, it's very hard to get picked and to be stable, so once you're in the camera department you get way more gigs,
and there's a not, I won't be able to name them, but there's quite a few truly great directors I think started with more cinematography, and then they did.
And more, I think, because of new technology, you can kind of learn editing and camera as you go by just having a phone. So that's very... there's no excuse, I guess, now to not learn about those things.
True. So, and were you making like 1 or 2 films a year kind of vibe, or is there not a structure like that?
Yeah, it depends. You have different projects, but I did like maybe 1,000, and then you start helping out on a lot. But I was focusing mostly on directing, producing, and then cinematography later, like the last year.
Cool.
So yeah.
And then when does Tax Time come into your life? or Hayden?
I think I made Hayden like a year before, I think.
And just met randomly
from friend,
through
actually
someone?
from USC. I was directing a movie, and actually the DP of that film knew Hayden for a long time. So that's how we met, and we worked on a few sets together. And then I was like, oh, I need a script, and he sent me a couple, and I thought Tax Time was very funny for its fast pace, and I guess the universal aspect of it. Also in any country you could go, like, paying taxes is never fun, and you can tell that in the US also people have some trauma about it.
We're kind of babyish about it. A lot of us. We don't take it as well as... Not that like you said, no one loves it.
Yeah.
But for some
It's
reason,
like
we're a
DMV.
little weird, I think.
But we took the DMV approach as well, in terms of for that film. When you
Like,
walk
it's like
into
going
an
to the
office,
DMV.
someone is very nonchalant. I don't criticize people working there, but that's kind of the vibe we're settling, and keeping it also like surreal, I guess.
And in a way, I think I said this at the festival last year, is that it kind of has it's a sketch, right? It feels like a comedy sketch, it does remind me of Monty Python flying circus sketches, because they would always have like an Office Space sketch where someone would walk into a chartered accountant's office and the guy turned out to be a lumberjack or something and just nothing made sense.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, like as a critique of the bureaucracy, I guess, and all the mess behind it, and I guess the absurdity of it as well. But yeah, that was very fun to shoot, very fast as well. I think we shot it in...
Yeah, like you read the script because you needed to make something, and so you were looking for a script?
So yeah, we were looking for like a 5-minute script, and then we did a couple of changes according to the actors and just to tweak the questions a little bit, And
was it for school or for just for yourself?
So basically I was supposed to shoot something and I had access to a stage. So everything went kind of fast. I think we made that movie in like 2 weeks in total, from like getting the script to the edit. So it's very pretty fast. Amazing. Yeah. That's cool because sometimes you get buried into the technical aspect of it and you don't really follow the story anymore. You think about things too preciously, but sometimes when you just let go and you have to do something, you end up making more interesting things sometimes, which is interesting. And well, and because you're a graduate student at a film program, you could take a script and, like you said, you had a stage reserved, exactly.
You had equipment
resources
available. Yeah, I mean, 3 years from now, you probably, if you're out of school, you can't just go from script to edit in 2 weeks. Unless you have enough money to rent a stage and pull in a crew and all that stuff. Yeah. So obviously the speed of it is a factor of being in that
kind of environment.
Super positive environment.
Yeah, and the crew as well. Access to actors. US is great to have. They give access to SAG actors, which is great because normally it's like, you have to go for the payroll and all that, which is fine, but with USC it's kind of fast, I guess. Oh, even that's faster. And there's no encouragement to use acting students, I guess. Not really. For some reason, not really. They don't. You can, but they don't really connect those classes. So you're just. It's funny. If I was studying acting there, I'd be like, "Why aren't the film school people using me?" That's true. Yeah, I'll be mad. You do sometimes, but. But I guess the then the people in the film graduate film school are like, hey, we're going to use the best actors we can find. It might not be you. Tough. But that's a good lesson to learn right there. Yeah. That you don't get to step to the head of the line very often. But overall, Tax Time was great to make, very fast again. And after we did then another shot with Aiden. And a feature also, which we just got finished, and which is quite nice because we applied for festival like a week ago, and we already got a screening, so that's cool. For the feature? Yeah. Really? Yeah, it's a 55-minute film. Oh, he hasn't even shown me. I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah. I guess it's a timing thing. Yes, so we wrote it together. So that's cool. We're gonna have the screening like in a month, I think. So that's cool. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Very nice. Very different type of stories, but that's cool. Yeah, and tax. Besides being super fast, as I recall, like Tax Time, when you two finished it, I think Hayden might have sent it to me soon after it was finished, right? Like how soon? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, because then we just ended up swapping. We threw it into the festival in place of another Hayden film, which I said to him, you know what? This one's better than that one in my opinion. He's like, me too. I'm like, well, why don't we swap them? Because we'd already accepted the first one. Oh, I see. And. Thankfully, we're not naming it, so the director of the other one can't get angry. Because I don't think Hayden directed that one. I don't think he's directed anything for a little while. I think he mentioned the film swap situation, but I don't know which film it is. I'm not supposed to. A little bit, the festival world. But anyway, we always want to show the best films possible. Well, that's cool. So now you got 3 films under your belt with Hayden. And also a new one. We just finished the shooting he was working more as a script consultant on this one, but it was sci-fi. He came kind of late, but also was working with us on set and all that. So sci-fi, very different, more like serious type of movies. But so now we're in post, so it's going to take a little bit to get the movie done. But yeah.
And so you sound very busy, nonstop.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
It's been a lot of work. And wait, are you done with the program? Are you still?
Yeah, it's been a year and a half.
So you graduated in basically last year.
Yeah, it was in
23. You finished?
I think 22 or 23. Yeah, 23, May 23.
Yeah, because June 23 is when we showed Tax Time at Film Invasion Los Angeles. Yeah. So I didn't realize you had just finished. See, that's Hayden just told me. Yeah, he goes to USC. I didn't realize you just graduated.
Yeah.
So you've been out for a year and a couple months, almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
And you're staying busy. That's good.
Yeah, for now, you never know. That's the thing with film. Is sometimes you have no gigs, I guess.
Well, I'd like to believe you're showing a lot of humility. I'd like to believe that means you'll stay busy because you're not saying, "Oh yeah, I'm never going to have a slowdown." You're like, it can slow down at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 4 years or something.
And are you writing all the time still, or more focused on getting scripts from others? And
yeah, it depends. Because since I also shoot, I've been busy also, like, obviously you have to pay the bills and all that, so I was working, but also like for cool. I liked all the projects so far I worked on, like on a documentary, but more like a camera operator / DP, and then directing a few shorts, and I've been focusing also on that sci-fi movie we just finished shooting, because I was lucky for USC. I met like an actor where was able to, he was like, yeah, send me a couple of scripts, and if I like one, I can find you fundings to make it, to direct it, and then he picked one eventually that I wrote, and that's how we ended up like working for 6 months on that film we just shot. So that was also quite,
that's the sci-fi one?
Yeah.
Sci-fi is such a great genre.
Very hard to do.
It's hard. It's harder to pull off, right? Yeah, on the page, you can be as creative as you want.
Yeah, but you can't really. I mean, when you know you're going to have to make it yourself, or because I knew the constraint, the budget constraint and all that from the beginning, so you have to think about when you write, how you're going to make it, which is good, I think. But it's a real...
But yeah, that gives you a chance to come up with creative solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just such a great... I mean, all film does involve world building, but then sci-fi is a whole different level of world building, right? Because you get to... you almost create a universe from scratch.
A lot of research, because you have to think way more... And I'm not saying, again, for every type of films, no, but... You need to have a reason almost for everything, I think, in order to work, from costume to the way people speak or behave, or just...
I think you're right.
Temperature, it's a bit rabbit hole.
I think you're right, and I think you also have to be cognizant, right? You have to be aware that the sci-fi audience is one of the most demanding audiences too.
Yeah, they're very critical, because they are usually obviously moviegoers, so they're
moviegoers. They tend to be a little brighter, tricks. Right? Like like if you break a rule, if you set a rule and then break it, the sci-fi audience is
or if it's very easy to find yourself too much in the homage type of film, or to be original, so you have all kind of traps and tricks to avoid. It's very, very hard, but it's good.
Yeah, when you say original, you remind me of it hasn't happened now for a while because the trend went away, or the problem went away. But when Black Mirror was a big deal, every film, every sci-fi film submitted to the festivals either felt like a Black Mirror episode rewrite.
Yeah, like an ending.
Or it was kind of original and good, and we'd show it at the theater, and then some motherfucker would raise their hand during the Q&A and go, this is kind of like that Black Mirror episode, such and such, and I'd always cut them off and go, no, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not like that. Mm-hmm. Stop. Don't. I felt so bad for sci-fi writers because everything they did was being
Black Mirror labeled.
just like the Black Mirror hammer was coming down on everyone's head.
With the short aspect of it, and I mean they did some amazing one, but for
they kept getting better. I mean, I'm quite a fan of Black Mirror, but I defend the indie filmmaker who does something sci-fi. They have the right to not be compared to,
to Black Mirror.
All
the time.
Not to mention Black Mirror had Netflix budgets back when Netflix was really throwing it around too. I mean,
I need to catch up on the last season though. I don't think I missed.
Yeah, the last 3 or I heard they're doing more.
The fourth one or the fifth one.
Yeah,
but it's still groundbreaking, especially when it came out. It was a new type of storytelling. I mean, by taking stuff that already existed, but
and creating that it did create a universe that interacted. Like technology and episodes would pop up in different episodes.
But also, which movies don't often do now, but just create like discussion about society in general. When you think about it, like that happens very rarely. And Black Mirror is really one that people will wonder about where we're going, or where we are, I guess.
Oh my God, you're right. That in that last season, they did that episode where I think the first episode of the last season was the one with that dealt with AI and Netflix and everything, quite directly.
Choose programs.
Yeah, and the hero had to go down a couple levels to actually destroy the machine or something. I forget.
Okay.
But it was I was like, wow, he's going after Netflix.
Yeah, by Netflix.
Yeah, he's biting the hand that feeds. Holy shit! I was impressed.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you have that meta aspect to it.
Yeah, you can't overdo it, but it is always.
Yeah, there are some very smart ways to do it. I need to catch up on that. I will.
Well, fair enough. Well, so you have those going on, and anything else going on? You anything?
I think.
And are you? I mean, I say this affectionately. Hayden, who you have collaborated with a couple times, is such a festival guy. I mean, he submits to a lot of festivals. He goes to them. Have you joined him on a lot of the festival runs?
And also, which is cool, is we got a few, not awards. Yes, actually, I think we got one award, but also we're doing the festival run for Jousters.
Yeah, Jousters.
Exciting, and also the Optimist, the feature we worked together on. So we've been involved in that. To be on my part, I'm pretty bad at it. It's not that I don't like it, but I don't really know how it works, all the roles. But I'm gonna try to get better at it, because it's obviously some of the most important things once you make a film. It's to actually have people seeing it, so we've been involved, for a few weeks now with Aiden and all that.
Yeah, and congratulations on Jousters. I know Jousters is having a good run. Hayden is always sharing stuff online. His Instagram is he's also a good Instagrammer, or I guess I should say he's good at social media.
Yeah,
because I'm like, Jousters is another festival. Bravo.
Bravo.
Golf clap.
That was cool.
And then, that's cool. I'm excited about your feature too. Although the funny thing is, we'd call it at our festivals, we call it featurette because
featurette.
We decided, if it's under an hour, it just seemed more fair, with awards.
But that's good that you have because often festivals, when you make such a film, and I think there should be a place because Black Mirror, I think there are films in a way. They're just short tales, and it's hard sometimes in festival if it's a weird in between, and there should be more, I guess, categories for those films.
And I think from my side of things, I think COVID changed the way people look at film length and editing. They just, you know what? If it's perfect at 55 minutes, make it 55. You don't have to
don't try to
kill it
extend
down to a half hour. Don't push it up to 90 minutes. Like there's I guess it's also streaming, right? Yeah, streaming, not just COVID, but streaming made us all realize but I mean, a lot, like it used to be like 10 years ago when we would get shorts submitted to a festival. If it was over 15 minutes, it needed some editing.
Yeah.
And now, I think every year some of our best films are in the 20, 30-minute range. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of made sense to be like, well, wait, you don't want a 34-minute film competing with a 7-minute film and a 90-minute film for the same award. They deserve their own world. So,
yeah, no, that's very, very smart. Yeah, because I guess it was the budget constraint before. Especially with big films to be screened in theater, that would probably be crazy to screen. People will pay for like watching a 30-minute film, but now there's no. With streaming, I mean, you have like also like Love, Death, and Robots, for instance. I mean, it's sci-fi, but they're like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah. They can have a 5-minute episode, and then they can have a 30-minute episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them feel just like a film. Some of them are just some of the greatest shit I've seen was in Love, Death, and Robots. It's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good stuff.
Yeah,
there shouldn't be a format now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, well, that's the other amazing thing about the change in entertainment right now is even in a TV series, there'll be a 20-minute episode, and the next one's 27, and the next one's 34, and then there's a 19. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be 22 minutes where there's a break here for a commercial and a break there for a commercial. It's allowed the creative community to really stretch their legs, I guess. Mm-hmm. Although I don't know what's going to happen as streaming turns into ad. There's going to be ads now.
Or an AI made.
I don't want to think about that.
Platform. We will see.
Yeah, we will see.
One thing at a time.
Well, excellent. I think we're up to the modern. We're up to now. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add before we
No, it was great talking to you.
It was a fun chat. Believe it or not, we did. We're at an hour. It's funny.
No,
I didn't tell you before we started recording, but there's almost like a timer in everyone's head. And they'll only talk about themselves for about an hour, and then they're kind of like, okay, I've talked about myself enough. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to study it more. I'd have to find a graduate student at some university and say, okay, study podcasts. Because after about minute 57, we're at 57 right now.
57.
Everything people say is like, they don't need to, like, they've said what they need to say already. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Well, is there a website or social media people should follow for if they want to
I can share my website and Instagram. Usually it's the best. I'm not the best at social media. I mean, it's been a while I haven't posted, but I'm going to start posting more actually in the coming weeks.
Start posting more, but and you have a website going.
Yeah. So I guess you can share it in the.
Yeah, it can be in the show notes. It can just be clickable in the show notes. Just if you want to remember to email it to me. So
will do.
Although I guess is your name unique enough, I could probably just Google it and find it. Mm-hmm. You're not like me. My name is super generic, but for all I know, there's a million Raphael Buissons in France.
Few, yeah, I'm sure. Many.
Named after a great painter. Well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will get us out of here so that we can finish up this podcast and then do your 4 questions after this. Yep. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Discover Indie Film Podcast. If you want to learn more about this podcast and the TV series it gave birth to that's on Amazon Prime, just go to discoverindiefilm.com, and on social media, it's always at DIFwins. I mentioned that the film that Raphael directed, Tax Time, was at Film Invasion Los Angeles in June of 2023. If you want to learn more about that festival that we hold every June, go to filminvasionla.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And its sister festival, Sherman Oaks Film Festival, is just as good. In fact, it's It's a little bigger. Somehow it grew faster than Filmvasion LA. So if you want to learn about Sherman Oaks Film Festival that we hold every December, it's always the weekend after Thanksgiving in the USA, go to ShermanOaksFF.com or at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And one more thing, go to indiechannel.tv. That's it. Go to indiechannel.tv for like really good, indie films. So there you go. I can't stop myself from like trying to help get these great films to more viewers, more audiences, because I feel pretty strongly that the stuff at the festivals is better than the stuff that Hollywood's putting out most of the time. So what can I say? indiechannel.tv. And it's also a smart TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, and your smartphone. All right. I've said what I need to say. Raphael, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.